Hello everyone, and welcome to Katharine's Creatures. This is episode 28, and this is a series where we can get to touch base on various beast beings and the like pulled from mythologies worldwide. And I always like to preface by saying that I am not a linguist, so if I butcher pronunciation, I apologize in advance. I try my best, but I know I have to be making errors somewhere, and it may be today. With that said, we're going to be talking about Abhartach, sometimes known as Abhartach, from Irish legend. And Abhartach is described, it's a singular entity, as a dwarf who was also a magician of sorts. He could control magic. He was also a tyrant and was exceedingly cruel to his people. And so much so that a neighboring chieftain, sometimes associated with one of Irish legend's kind of heroes, Fionn Mac Cumbial. See, I'm going to mispronounce that one. But this particular chieftain, who was from a neighboring area, he comes over and not only defeats Abhartach, but slays him. And in a normal situation, that should be the end of it, of course. This series doesn't really deal with the normal situations. So Abhartach was buried standing upright. Hold that thought, it's going to come back in a moment. And so he was buried and left for, dead, literally. And the next day, people start seeing him at his old haunts, so his favorite places that he lived in during life. Not only was he there, he was physically present and kind of took the reins over his region again and resumed being this cruel tyrant. And of course, all the people were in an uproar. So here comes the helpful chieftain from the neighboring area and goes and fights, defeats, and slays Abhartach for a second time. And then again, this tyrant was buried just the same way as before, standing upright in a hole, and left for dead. Day number 2, here comes Abhartach again, alive and well it seems, and extremely cruel and angry. Well, I would be angry, and just again resuming all his old traits and his old roles. And so now everybody doesn't know what to do because this guy essentially rose from the dead now twice. So the friendly chieftain comes back over one more time and has to figure out what to do different and what he needs to do to prevent this dwarf to resurrect himself again. So he seeks help from a druid, and again this is Irish legend, and the druid gives him some pointers. So here comes the chieftain for the third time, fights, defeats, and slays Abhartach. So instead of burying him upright, standing erect, he is buried flipped around where his head is facing downward. And the rule was, if his face is buried facing downward, it'll prevent his magic from bubbling up. Interesting. And so they buried him that way, and thankfully, he did not rise again. So that was a success, but terrifying for the fact that this tyrant rose from the dead twice. Now, that particular legend was jotted down by an author, Patrick Weston Joyce, when he was compiling a book of different lore from the area. And this, again, this old Irish legend has been noted ever since then. It has slowly evolved, and as well as many legends, has different variations as well. So I'll touch base on a couple of those. In modern day's time, because of the whole resurrecting from the dead concept, the Abhartach has kind of been devolved, whichever way you want to view it, into a vampire-like entity, and has been now associated with the drinking of blood like other vampires, but that wasn't in the original lore. Some of the other alternatives, there was a more Christianized version where instead of seeking help from a druid, a Christian saint, was the one who gave them the tip on how to prevent this tyrant from resurrecting himself. And sometimes Abhartach becomes this other, almost a revenant, so a spirit-like entity. And so there are different versions of this legend, as many legends have it. They change, evolve over time. But regardless, to say, no matter what, having any kind of figure, person, entity rise from the dead is truly terrifying. So hopefully you enjoyed this little tidbit of lore. And if you have any questions about this or anything else, post them in the comments below or message me on social media. And until next time, Skål.